There's a certain kind of mind that never stops running, even when the world is silent. It rewinds old memories, imagines future outcomes, analyzes every word, every pause, every look. It's not that they want to overthink, it's that they don't know how not to. Because for them, thinking isn't a choice, it's survival. These are the overthinkers, the ones who can't just move on, who replay conversations long after they're over, not to suffer, but to understand. Because their mind is a puzzle that refuses unfinished pieces. But here's the thing most people miss. Overthinking isn't a flaw, it's a defense mechanism. Psychologically, it's the brain's way of trying to create control in a world that often feels unpredictable. When you overthink, your mind is searching for safety through certainty. It's scanning the past for mistakes, the future for threats, and the present for meaning. And that constant scanning, it's exhausting. You can recognize an overthinker by the way they pause before they speak. Not because they don't know what to say, but because they're weighing a dozen versions of the same sentence. They calculate tone, emotion, and outcome, all before a single word leaves their lips. Their silence isn't hesitation, it's hyper-awareness. Psychologists call this cognitive rumination, a repetitive cycle of thoughts that loop endlessly. It often begins with anxiety, but turns into analysis. Their brain doesn't rest because it's wired to solve problems that may not even exist. It's like trying to put out fires that haven't started yet. And yet, hidden inside this mental chaos is a gift, perspective. Overthinkers see patterns that others miss. They sense emotional shifts in people. They notice the tiny inconsistencies between what someone says and what they actually feel. They are emotional detectives, decoding subtext, tone, energy. They're not paranoid, they're perceptive. But the curse of that perception is confusion. Because when you see too many angles, it's hard to know which one is true. So the overthinker questions everything, even themselves. Did I say the wrong thing? Did they mean that? Am I overreacting or underreacting? It becomes a maze with no exit, only more paths that lead back to the same questions. Inside their mind, time stretches. A single text can spiral into a full story. A 2-second silence can feel like rejection. Their brain fills the gaps with endless possibilities, most of them painful. Because uncertainty is unbearable to an overthinker. Their imagination becomes both their shelter and their storm. From a psychological perspective, overthinking is closely linked to a hyperactive default mode network, the part of the brain responsible for self-reflection and internal dialogue. For most people, it quiets when they relax. For overthinkers, it never shuts off. It's like having 20 browser tabs open even while you sleep. That's why many overthinkers find peace only in solitude. Not because they dislike people, but because solitude means fewer variables to process. In quiet moments, they can finally exhale. But even then, the mind whispers, replaying, analyzing, preparing. It's a storm that pretends to be calm. There's also something deeper, emotional intelligence tangled with fear. Overthinkers often grew up needing to anticipate danger, conflict, or rejection before it happened. So they learned to read minds to feel safe. They became experts at noticing patterns, predicting moods, avoiding pain. It's not drama, it's adaptation. And while this skill can make them empathetic, it also makes them restless. Because when you're wired to prepare for the worst,
Peace feels unfamiliar. Happiness feels temporary. So they brace themselves even when nothing's wrong, waiting for the fall that may never come.
Even in social situations, overthinkers are quietly observing. They notice micro-expressions, subtle shifts in tone, and the small hesitations that reveal more than words ever could. To them, every interaction is a puzzle of intent and emotion. They may smile politely, nod along, or stay silent, not because they aren't engaged, but because they are processing layers of meaning that most people miss. It's not disconnection, it's depth.
Overthinkers also carry a dual-edged awareness of time. While others live in moments, they live in timelines, constantly replaying the past and projecting the future. But this isn't merely anxiety, it's an attempt to understand and anticipate life's patterns. This constant mental motion can be exhausting, yet it also fuels insight, creativity, and empathy. Their reflections, while complex, allow them to see truths invisible to the casual observer.
But here's the paradox. The same brain that overthinks is also built for creativity. The ability to see 100 outcomes can be a curse in love, but a gift in art, in problem solving, in empathy. Overthinkers are often the people who write, paint, or build things that touch souls, because their mind is used to wandering through possibilities, and sometimes it discovers beauty in places others overlook. The challenge, then, isn't to stop thinking, it's to learn how to think differently, to recognize when reflection turns into self-torture, to learn the art of stepping back from the story your mind is writing and saying, "Not every thought deserves my attention." Mindfulness therapists call this cognitive diffusion, the ability to separate yourself from your thoughts and observe them like clouds passing in the sky. It's not about forcing silence, it's about creating space. Space between you and the endless what-ifs. Because at the core, overthinking isn't a problem of thought, it's a problem of trust. Trusting yourself enough to know you can handle whatever happens. Trusting that not every unanswered question hides danger. Trusting that life doesn't need to be fully understood to be fully lived. So, if you're an overthinker, maybe this is your reminder. You don't need to solve your thoughts. You just need to stop fighting them. Let them move through you. Watch them come and go. Because the mind doesn't quiet when it's forced. It quiets when it feels safe. And safety, real safety, begins when you realize that uncertainty isn't your enemy. It's your teacher. It's what reminds you that life was never meant to be controlled, only experienced. You'll always think deeply. That's who you are. But depth doesn't have to mean drowning. Sometimes the most powerful thought you can have is the one you finally let go.